Wanted to ask you first, just initial thoughts on Ian getting drafted in the fourth round.
Yeah, I don't think he could be going to a better place. Like when we talked leading up to the draft, it was always about where you go, not when you go. Now, I would say he got probably the best of both worlds. We as the draft kind of started approaching, we started heard rumblings. Hey, fourth round might be more likely the landing spot. Early it was hey, anywhere from 5 to 7. We didn't really think he was going to go as a free agent. We knew it was going to be the 5 to 7, and then probably the last 2 or 3 weeks leading up to the draft, kind of started hearing, hey, could creep into the fourth, depending on when these other quarterbacks go. We knew there was a handful of teams that really liked him. The Saints actually did a pretty good job of keeping that disclosed for a little bit. But we found out maybe a couple days before the draft, like, hey, the Saints are pretty serious about Ian. And like for him and for me as someone that cares about him, like that was a dream scenario, right? For him to go to a place that values quarterbacks, knows how to coach them, knows how to prepare them, is going to put them in a system to be successful. Obviously, Coach Payton has an unbelievable track record with him. Everybody draws the comparison to Brees and his size and his build. And I get it. That's the easy comparison. But more importantly, it's you're going to a place that knows how to develop the position. You're going to a place that knows how to coach them. They're putting you into a system that's going to be quarterback friendly. So it allows you to do, what you're there to do, and that's play the position. You don't have to worry about any other nonsense. So I couldn't be happier for him. Our quarterback group, we kind of took a poll on when he was going to go. I had said the fourth. I think I was the only person in the room that said it. So I'm glad that I was right.
So it wasn't a shock that he fell to the fourth round.
No, I think fourth was probably the earliest we thought he was going to go. There was a little bit like late third round. He called me. It's crazy because he called me whenever the Saints were picking in the mid third. He called me that night. It was like 11 o'clock or 10:30 at night. And he called me just to talk about something completely different. We're very close, so we talk quite a bit. And I was like, hey, dude, you can't call me in the middle of the draft. But the Saints are literally the next pick. Like, I'm sitting here watching, and you're calling me during it. Like, let's wait till, I'm not going to be on the edge of my seat. So we actually had our spring scrimmage that Saturday, and he got drafted while I was calling it. And then I stayed up there at halftime and tried calling him. And he blew me off, but he called. We talked very shortly after the game. I was actually still in the locker room, and we FaceTimed, so it was pretty cool.
I found it interesting too that the Saints did keep it so quiet. The only public interview Sean Payton had, I think, was on Dan Patrick's show, and it was just a brief mention saying he liked Ian Book, saying he looked scrappy on tape. You, of course, knew, though, that they were in early conversations. What were those early conversations like, and what were they wanting to know about him when they were talking to you?
Yeah, I think, when they were here for the pro day, I had a chance to talk to some of the guys on staff. And, we knew early they were sending a bunch of people here. A lot of the conversations was much more about how does he prepare, what type of person is he, the leadership. I think something that helped Ian stand out among the rest of the group was his leadership. I felt like they put a lot of value in the person he was, the way he prepares this game, and the way he was able to, help his teammates and the way his teammates respected him and those things. So that was the conversation that stood out the most. And I think they compared his personality to Drew's and something that here's a guy that is going to work and rally the guys are going to resonate to. And all that's true. I mean, Ian he's about as good of a person and leader as you could find. He handled himself here at Notre Dame as well as any star player has. And so everything that he's getting is very well deserved. It's funny, Drew is calling our games this year for NBC. Mm-hmm. And so the Wednesday before the draft, maybe, he was here and I had dinner with him. Oh. And he got practice that Thursday. So it was just weird, serendipitous timing of how everything worked out. But obviously it's a dream come true for Ian.
Did you have a conversation with Drew at dinner about the Saints potentially drafting Ian?
No, we just talked about Ian. We didn't get into the details of the Saints or any of that. We just talked about Ian and, kind of where he was at with everything. And it was just weird timing how the whole week transpired.
So he didn't tip you off at all?
No
Okay.
secrets were given. No.
I don't think Drew knew, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know how many people did. So
It's interesting too. I know a lot of people like to talk about the, on paper, they height wise, weight about the same, but listening to both of their introductory press conferences, the first thing that came out of both of their mouth was that number one priority is win. And then they talked about wanting to make everybody around them better. Is that truly what you saw from Ian in his time at Notre Dame?
yeah, he's a winner. I mean, he leaves here all time winning as quarterback. Here's a kid that, if we're being honest, he was not recruited to come be the savior of Notre Dame. He worked for what he had received, and he put in a lot of time and effort, built a lot of trust with his teammates. I mean, there's not a guy that's been here over the last 3 or 4 years that would ever say a bad thing about Ian. I mean, everybody respects him, cares about him, knows how much he cared and worked. So his teammates loved him, truly one of the guys. So that's entirely what you're getting. You're going to get a kid that this is going to be the priority, and he's going to do whatever it takes to find a way to succeed at it. And he's going to push those guys around him, and he's going to facilitate and make sure that he's able to let other players play their best. And that's something that he did extremely well here. It's funny, like probably his first year starting, or maybe going into his first year starting a couple of years ago, I asked him the question. I said, what is holding you? Like, why can't you be the next Drew Brees? Like, what is holding you back? And for me at the time, it was the mental aspect of the game. Like, Drew is so far ahead of other players. That's what makes him truly great. But from an accuracy standpoint, from an athleticism standpoint, from a movement, all those things were on par. It's just taking that next hurdle in terms of mentally preparing for the game the right way.
You mentioned Ian, the competitor. Rookie minicamp starts this week. Do you expect him to fully come in and compete with Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill in training camp?
I don't know. I think he's going to want to. I know that.
Right.
Like, we talked last night, and I just told him, hey, make the team first. Like, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. You have an unbelievable opportunity to learn from guys, be ingrained in the system. That's going to be up to the staff and where they put their time and effort. Ian's going to take it one day at a time. He does a great job of compartmentalizing things. He never really gets too high or too low. He's going to be accurate and efficient. And like, the thing here is he always moved the team. When he was competing to be the starter, he might not have been, there was guys ahead of him that, was a guy coming back, was a starter, was extremely talented, but Ian had just a way about him of moving the team and moving the ball and finding a way to score points. So if he does that again, he's a hard kid to keep off the field. He'll work at it. He'll be in there all day, learning the system and taking time. But, I hope for his sake that, he goes in there and look, it's going to be a long process for him, and just to not let the moment become too much and take it, one step at a time and allow himself to be on the team and then have a chance to compete moving forward.
One thing about the Saints scouts over the last few years is they put such a high value on knowledge and studying quarterbacks, especially in the draft. Where would you say Ian's football IQ is?
It's high. I think that is the one area, like I said, that he had worked on the most over the last 3 years. I mean, he was in my office every single day. After practices during the season, he's up here watching film with the staff, good or bad. It's something that he's worked and that he cares a lot about. And so he's going to go in there prepared because he's prepared himself, and he's going to have an opportunity to be a sponge with those coaches and those other quarterbacks and, really allow himself to ingrain himself into the system. And, once he gets some opportunities to work at it and take reps, he's a pretty quick study, and he'll probably hit the ground running.
One of the analysts said that he was one of the best timing passers. And of course, we know Drew Brees, I think, will lead the record books for a while as far as accuracy. I know you mentioned this is a perfect landing spot for him, but in that aspect alone, do you see him kind of having success early on potentially with New Orleans?
Yeah, I think, look, his accuracy and his timing, his ability to put it in tight windows is what's made him special. Very much like Drew, which is, again, the comparisons there's a lot of them, but that's going to have to be part of Ian's game is recognizing things, getting the ball out on time. And if he can do that and be efficient, then there's no reason why he can't be a very successful quarterback at the next level.
What are we not going to see on tape? I know that you have a very close relationship with him, as you mentioned. What is the locker room getting out of him?
I mean, he's just a cool kid. I think, Yeah, nothing really gets him too high or too low. He's very even killed. He's very much one of the guys. He's not going to be, loud or boisterous. He's going to be very in the moment and supportive of his teammates, and he's going to be realistic. Like, he's not going to allow, a good day get him too high, a bad day get him too low. He's just going to find a way to stay steady. And usually when he doesn't have a great day, the next practice will be his best. And there's just like this inner competitor and fire that's inside of him that might not always show through, but it's there. And I guarantee you this offseason program, when they're working, he'll be the first one there. He'll win the races. I mean, he's a great athlete. He really is. And, he's just going to set the standard for what it means to work. And, a lot of that comes from his parents. His dad has a military background. His mom's, an awesome, awesome lady. And then here at Notre Dame, we tend to think we do a pretty good job of preparing guys and working them. And, he continued that standard and bettered it. So I think those are the things that people might not see, is just how he works day to day. And, he earned everything he got here, and nothing was handed to him. And I think he's going to do the same.
And he didn't come in and start right away at Notre Dame. He had to kind of earn that role. How do you see him handling that now, coming in as the new guy again with a new team?
Same way. He's going to be humble. He's not going to overstep, and then he's going to work, right? Like, the only way to earn your teammates' respect is to show them how much it matters to them, show them how much they matter to you. And that's what he's going to do. He's going to be very selfless, try to serve others, and then work his tail off to make sure that those guys see that and know that he's there for the right reasons.